Greetings, mortals, and welcome. Please present your tickets for validation. Thank you. Your existence has been acknowledged, and you have been granted access every Thursday and Friday. You will be accompanying your guides, Krista and Brandy, along with a world-renowned guest. They will be exploring an intriguing tendril of what humans refer to as reality each week, as they strive to advance you further down the path to the truths of your physical earth and what lies on the other side. Remember to please keep your hands and feet in the vehicle at all times, and do not exit until the craft has come to a complete stop.
Hey, welcome.
Hey guys.
Happy Thursday.
Oh God, Tex.
I know, I just now noticed
He didn't have that on before.
No, he did not. You still eating your popcorn with the balls on there?
You're muted.
While the intro is playing, I'm sitting here scarfing this popcorn like this.
That's too funny.
That stuff's good.
Too funny. Well, it's there's no rule saying that you can't eat it while you're doing the show. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm just.
I'll just mute yourself.
Yeah. What's fun in that?
You just make sure you don't have any in your beard when you.
Right. There you go.
Surprised I don't.
I hear you. So how you guys been?
Good.
I'm good.
Tired, but good.
Yeah. Well,
I went and saw my reindeer tonight, so I'm good.
I seen that. Yeah, you sent pictures. Yeah. I appreciate you both filling in for Brandy. She's
No problem.
she had kid stuff tonight, so
It takes two of us to replace one Brandy.
It do.
That's right. It sure does. And she was actually really bummed because she really was looking forward to this with Jill coming on too. So she's really bummed about that.
Cool.
So it just means we'll have to have Jill back again, right?
That's right.
So anyway, we have a conference coming up, and I know y'all are probably getting sick already of hearing about it, but you got 9 months to listen about it. So,
Exactly 9 months.
So I am going to put this up here real quick. And speaker lineup is our buddy Josh Hurd, Malvern Manor, Heather Mosier, Small Town Monsters, Frankie and Dan from Haunted Garage and Haunted Souls. And then we have Lady Ann Celine and Ron Murphy. They're going to talk about the Fae together. And then William Lunsford, our friend from Falk, and Greg Ogles. We all know him, Mr. Moist himself. And we have Dr. Dean Bertram, who's going to talk a little bit of UFO and alien stuff. And then special guest, we actually have added to that list. We have Ken Gerhard, Dana Stricker, and Brent Thomas. And we also have Mike Familiant and Ryan Edwards we have added. So I know Jason is working on new posters to add the others.
We're keeping him busy.
I know, right?
That's it. Weird.
Yeah. So, and then you guys get tickets. We got the Friday night meet and greet. We've got the conference during the day on Saturday. The other night you had Mary Lynn on your show. And so if you guys, those of you that watched Texas Front Porch this past week, so Mary Lynn, they are one of our sponsors for this conference. And she is also going to be doing gallery readings. So that'll be fun. That'll be after the conference, so nobody has to miss out on anything. Mm-hmm. And then after the gallery readings is the ghost hunt for the museum. So, okay.
You need little bells in there.
Yeah. Do they make noise?
Yeah.
Oh, I hear it very, very faint.
Yeah, very faint.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's too
Yeah,
funny.
this one's actually a bell. This one's like a Christmas ornament.
Gotcha.
Ball.
That's cool. Very cool. So anyway, get your tickets while you can. There's the museum ghost hunt is almost sold out. So
4
I
tickets
know.
left for that?
4 tickets left. Yep, and it will sell out. I know it'll sell out by the end of the month. So
Yeah.
I think people. I know 2 people. Well, one person's wanting 2 tickets, and they're waiting until they get their paycheck tomorrow. So I'm
Well, there you
probably
go.
down to 2. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
And we're not adding any more tickets to that.
Nope.
No, can't.
Yeah. We want to give everybody an experience to be able to, ghost hunt with everybody that they want to ghost hunt with. And, so, and the museum's only so big. Usually we can sell, usually we've done up to 45 tickets. I don't like to sell 45 tickets. And this one, we put a small number of 16 on it.
Yeah.
Just so everybody can have a little more one-on-one time with any of the speakers and the guests, that are coming. So it's all good. So anyway, I am excited about tonight, and I'm going to go up and bring Jill Remensnyder up. Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
How
Jill.
are you?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me back. This is a special treat.
Absolutely. You're always welcome here. The last show was great. And when I talked to Brandy this week, she's like, man, she goes, I can't believe I got to miss this one. And I'm like, well, I know it kind of sucks, but I already scheduled her a while back, so I don't want to move her. So it's just a benefit for Tex and Paul.
Yeah.
So
That's a cool globe you have behind you too, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it is.
It's there's all sorts of little colors. Doug Morrison, who's a researcher out here in Oregon, he makes these. He just sent us a big shipment for the
that's cool.
holidays. So
Wow.
and it's very, what's nice about it, it's very, it's Bigfoot, Sasquatch neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless if you're in the flesh and blood or if you're more on the paranormal side,
Right.
this kind of splits the difference. It's,
Yeah.
It's
Would you send me his information? I'd be interested in buying one myself.
Yeah, no kidding.
well, I can hook you up. Don't you worry. I
Awesome.
have a stack on my dining room table.
Well, awesome. I will definitely send you some money. I can PayPal it for you. Anyway, I am dropping your link for your shows, A Flash of Beauty. And I don't know, you must be under a log if you haven't watched A Flash of Beauty, because I think just about everybody has. And you guys do.
Excellent.
Very,
Excellent. Yeah.
very interesting. Very interesting. I've got
Yes.
a lot of questions.
Jill, what made you and your husband get into this?
As far as Bigfoot's concerned, as far as the paranormal, as far as the mysteries, we've always been interested in that. And I distinctly remember, gosh, it must have been 2000, let's just say 2008 or 9. We were driving somewhere, we were on a job, and we were talking about, wouldn't it be cool if like someday we could like do a project about stuff we're really passionate about, like Bigfoot or the paranormal. And that just seemed like so out of reach. And then we were, doing all of our corporate stuff, and we kind of filed it away. And then when March of 2020 came and shut everything down, we finally had an opportunity to do this project we'd always dreamed of doing. But kind of what laid the foundation, going back to, is either 2012 or 2013, one of the 2000, maybe it was 2013. We were invited to Beachfoot, which is an event that Todd Neese created and hosts Oregon Coast. And we were invited, we were working with some film investors. We were developing a narrative film, because before all the documentary stuff happened, we were doing feature films, music videos, short films and whatnot. Gosh, if you told me then that we would be doing Bigfoot documentaries like in the future, I would have just No, we wouldn't be. But that was kind of the entry for us because we became friends with Todd right out of the gate. We met Ron Moorhead, we met Peter Byrne,
Wow.
a lot of people, and so we stayed in touch with Todd. And so when we got this idea that we can finally do our paranormal documentary, we touched base with Todd, and he's like, "Come on out to Beachfoot. I'm sure someone will talk to you." And we started interviewing there. But originally we thought we were doing something that was more about cryptids, hauntings, and then UFOs. But as we kept moving forward, everything kept getting redirected back to Bigfoot. And so the path presented itself, and we just kept following the breadcrumbs. We're still following.
You're still following the breadcrumbs. I hear you. Have you had that like wow, encounter where you saw it, or is it one of those where it's around but just don't actually physically see it?
So I just full disclosure, I have not had the sighting, the full on like, oh my gosh, there it is standing, it's crossing the road. No, we have seen the eye glow. Not eye shine. I mean, just in the dead of night, watching pairs of eyes, boop, 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 along. We've seen that. We've also experienced, that uneasy feeling that happens when you're out in the woods and all of a sudden it gets dead quiet and still, electrified. And you just, if I'd known in the beginning what mind speak was, or the telepathy type component people report, I'd say, oh, of course, that's what's going on. But when you start getting that little voice in your head saying, you need to get out of here now. Like you need to turn around, go. Don't look, just go. Stuff like that. But also, we've been out filming and we've caught audio that we actually featured in A Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot. We just recently, while we were on location in Alabama, we had a rock or something thrown from the tree line at us that landed right in front of us. We looked at it, we looked at each other, looked back at the tree line, we're like, yep.
Wow. Yeah. That would be an awesome experience, I think.
Yeah.
For sure. Like I said, ghost, I started out doing ghosts and I used to get an adrenaline rush, like going to these haunted locations and stuff. And I don't have that anymore with the ghosts. It's, I enjoy it still, but I don't have that rush anymore. And, but going out in the woods, it's back. I got that rush again, that adrenaline for sure. It's So Brandy and I have kind of, got into the woods now.
And it's always good to be out in nature.
It is.
And reconnecting. I think sometimes we forget or we don't realize how disconnected we are from nature until we turn off our phones, we're not by our computers, and we can just go hike and hear the birds. And
absolutely.
I was that's so very true. I was driving today and I was in traffic at a stoplight, I think, or something. And you look in every other car and people are doing this at the red light, not looking around or anything, just, stuck on their phones. It's so refreshing to put those down and go someplace where you don't get any reception and enjoy. I mean, if nothing else, just to be out there and enjoy nature. I mean, you had the added bonus of going out there and filming that and all that stuff. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I get excited when I get someplace and my phone goes, signal lost. Oh, I am in the right place I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, because usually that's where they are, huh?
So you not only have
too much time looking down at our phone instead of
keeping
your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel.
Exactly. You never know. Maybe see some drones up there.
And the thing about it is when I'm out in the field, most of the time my phone stays in my truck. What do I need it for?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. No, I gotcha.
But it's if you're not careful, though, the thing about it is, if you're not careful when you're out in the field too, you're wanting the
Bless you.
film stuff,
Bless you.
you're wanting the film stuff and everything, you'll miss a lot that way too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, most people say that when they had their encounter or their sighting, Bigfoot was the last thing on their mind. They were doing something else. And it's, again, just another reminder, like, don't go looking for them. They will find you. Just go out and enjoy yourself.
Absolutely, they will. Paul, you were going to say something here a bit ago.
Yeah, sure was. Oh, I mean, in the documentary, you see a lot of other documentaries where you have a handful of people who had encounters and stuff that you talk to. But you guys, when you did that, you had a heck of a lot more and very well educated people that you guys talked to. Where did you come up with or find these people? I mean, it was just incredible.
Well, it was just, again, the path presented itself. And what we learned was, so on that first day of filming it, when we were at Beachfoot, June of 2020, Diane Stocking handed me a list of people that she thought I should interview. And one of the names at the bottom was Daryl Adams. And she's like, you really need to talk to Daryl. He's got some interesting stuff going on. That's an understatement. Mm-hmm. So when we talked to Daryl, he said, well, you need to talk to Tobe Johnson, because he was there with me during all this. Yeah. And once we talked to Tobe, who's now part of our team, he started introducing us to people. And then the people we'd interview, they would introduce us to people. So we were just following the path as it presented itself. And sometimes, in a Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, we were at Phenomicon that very first year. And that's where we interviewed Dr. Meldrum. We had some scheduling. We tried to meet up with him earlier. It didn't work out, but just by happenstance, he was there, and we were actually at the same hotel. We said, "Well, can we borrow you for just a few minutes?" You. And at the conference, there was a local gentleman who was giving a presentation on his experience. That was Daryl Wilson, who was diagnosed terminal cancer. Wow. And Brett started talking to him. And it's like, okay, here's our next interview.
Right.
And, and it just, a lot of people also, Brett has a knack for being on Facebook, and a post will pop up. Like someone will say, I just had a sighting. We're trying to process it and figure it. And he'll reach out to them, say, this is what we're doing. That's how we got the interview with Chad Austin, who had the sighting up at the lake when they were trying to do a survival video. It was fresh, and they were still pretty rattled by it. So, and when we went up to the lake to film, it was the first time they had been back.
Oh, wow.
And so that audio it's in the film, when they're at the lake looking out, they didn't know we were recording. They thought it was a private conversation talking about, man, I just want to see it again. And I wish they could see it. It was right there. And
Wow. That's really cool that, like that they were even willing to go back. Cause sometimes these encounters for people, they're traumatizing. Thank you, T-Bone.
Thank you, T-Bone.
But, these encounters are traumatizing for people. So the fact that they, would go back there is pretty cool too with you and let you film it, Yeah. Because I know, I mean, like I said, people, they don't want to talk about it, much less film it.
Well, and one of the things we noticed is what Brett and I observed was there was such a kind of let's just say a PTSD component to these encounters. And so we reached out to one of our friends, Dr. Michael Adams, who's a psychiatrist. He has, I think he said it's like over 90,000 like patient clinical hours. And that was back in 2021. So add a few more hours into that. But what was so interesting was that he said that there could be, just the way the human mind works and how people can repress memories, there could be a whole subset of people who've had experiences and sightings that don't even know it because they've pushed it down or convinced themselves it was something else. And he also really makes a point that, it's the people who can't think outside the box and can't open their minds to the possibility of something happening. That those are the people who are a little bit,
Yep.
I
Or they'll
was
be like,
unfit. I think he said psychopath in the documentary.
or the people that, like, oh no, I don't believe in Bigfoot. There's no such thing as Bigfoot. But one time I saw this, or, like.
Oh, we get a lot of that. We get the Bigfoot isn't real, but let me tell you about the time I was abducted. Let me tell you about the ghost I saw.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about X, Y, and Z. But I don't know. And I can be understanding to that. Like maybe if you've had these other experiences, until you see it yourself and can experience it, through your own lens, it's hard to wrap your head around and validate. But
right.
It always amazes me when people that, like you said, all these supernatural paranormal things that they experience, but I draw the line at a natural creature being out there. It's like, what?
Yep.
And natural creature.
Wink,
I know this arguably not, but I think they're more. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on, flesh and blood or I hate woo. I hate that word. Or that side of the aisle. I think no matter what, everybody can agree that these things have been around a lot longer than we have. And I just don't understand somebody that was, that, oh, well, I saw a ghost or I saw a UFO, but no, that ain't that big fella. He ain't real.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm like that too. A lot of people, they'll believe in ghosts, but they don't believe in Bigfoot or they don't believe in aliens. Yeah. I think that's pretty common actually.
Something we've seen, we feel like we've been really lucky and blessed with the people that we've been able to interview, but some of the most amazing stories or encounters, I should say, that we've read or heard about are what people post on our YouTube channel, where they're sharing their experiences. And it's almost like, it's very therapeutic. I found when people get to share their story, regardless of what kind of encounter it is. But there's the people who will come out very hostile against, certain people we feature. But then we'll reach out, we'll ask them, they're like, well, what is it? Why do you feel this way? What's going on? Yeah. And a lot of times there will be a response, or more times than not, a private email exchange. They saw something they didn't understand. And no one believed them. They were ridiculed. Like there's more going on than just they don't believe. There's baggage about, them being ridiculed about telling people what they saw and stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
It's almost just like the circle of violence. I mean, it just feeds on itself.
But I also think it's really important. Something that we've tried to do is to meet people where they are. We get it that, for some people who've had experiences their whole lives, whether it's Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, this is a lot easier to have the conversation with. But for example, for people like my parents, who when they heard we were doing this, they just laughed and then waited for, the punchline. And I was like, no, we're doing this. And I remember my mom on a phone call, because what was it? It was something like she was talking to friends. They're like, people ask what you're up to, and I don't know what to say. And I said, tell them I'm making a Bigfoot documentary and ask them if they have a sighting they'd like to share with us. And my mom said, she's like, Jill, your father and I have always been very supportive, but your father does not know what to think about this. Mm-hmm. Until fast forward a few months, he's out golfing and he kind of jokingly mentioned it that, oh, Jill, she's doing a Bigfoot documentary. And then someone said, oh, who saw one was Judge so-and-so. So all of a sudden, because a member of the community held in esteem and a position had a sighting, all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay. So this is happening more often than not. And now it's gotten to the point where my mom, if she sees someone wearing a Bigfoot shirt or has like a Bigfoot, sticker on their car, putting their groceries away while they're there, she will ask them, do you have a story?
That's awesome.
And she'll give me phone numbers. She's like, this is a gentleman I spoke to at the hospital. I'm like, thanks, Mom.
Doing a little work for you. That's awesome.
But it's really important. We think,
Quit asking strangers for their phone number, Mom.
And like, so for some people, it's only the scientific, the academia, and so we have, Dr. Meldrum there to, get them to the table. Then there's people who are like, no, I've seen I've experienced a lot of other weird stuff. Well, here's Jack who saw one shapeshift into a deer. So there's a little something for everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Because not everybody's encounters are the same. Some people have good ones. Some people have traumatic ones. Our friend, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, his encounter was awful. It literally like they got zapped. His girlfriend fell out of the boat. They were on a boat and it was an awful one. But then you hear of other ones where, I've heard of encounters where a Bigfoot helped a child get back home, I mean, so yeah, it's.
Well, and I think one of your, I can't remember who it was, I'm sorry, but one of the people in your film said, and we've been talking about the same thing amongst ourselves, that the difference between these experiences and these encounters that you have, the good versus the not so good ones, is the way they were raised up around, to think of people, to tolerate people. If Grandpa Bigfoot was shot in the butt back in the day, well, he's going to raise his kid not to like us, and some, you hear stories about, First Nations people having a trading relationship with these people.
Yeah.
So it just depends. They're as different as, you and I.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, they are for sure. What are your thoughts on, I personally have seen orbs out in the woods on multiple occasions. What are your thoughts on that? Have you come across any orbs out in the woods?
Personally, as far as orbs, we've seen interesting lights. We have a tendency to categorize things as interesting when we can't quite explain that. But as far as like Daryl Adams and Mark Parker, they were seeing orbs move through the trees before the Bigfoot started walking up the trail towards them. I have not seen orbs per se in that context to what would be considered a Bigfoot sighting. I've seen like the sparkles and the shimmer that go along with kind of like what Tara Harris talks about. But no, I mean, there's a connection, I think. So many people report it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh, go ahead, Krista. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I think so too. Go ahead, Tex.
I think there's a connection, but I don't think it's the connection that a lot of people are making. Okay. I think personally, we're dealing with more than just one phenomenon. They're not all, an orb's not going to turn into a Bigfoot or vice versa, and it be a physical Bigfoot per se. if that makes any sense. Because I've seen this stuff, you know, and I don't think any researcher, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, any researcher that's been doing it for any amount of time that's worth their salt can truthfully say that they've never seen anything they can't explain.
Mm-hmm.
They might not want to admit it, but I guarantee you they've ran into it, or they've heard it or something, you know. And I'm no different. Brandy was out in the field with me when you know, I mean, there was 4 of us that witnessed I don't know what else to call it but an orb. But we didn't see it. We couldn't see it with our naked eye, but we could see it on thermal, which I think it gives us even more credit.
Wow, yeah.
You know, I mean, sometime if you want, I'll tell you that story. I don't want to hog your time on this show. But you know, but at a few minutes earlier, me and Brandy had a Bigfoot sighting. You know, so, but we were also in the cemetery.
Yeah.
So,
my
trifecta.
Yeah.
Energies.
Well, what's really weird is, like, you know, as I said, I started out doing the ghost thing, and there's a place outside of St. Louis called Tri-County Truck Stop. And I saw in the basement, it was during one of our overnight public events. I had attendees there. I had a group of people in the basement with me. There was probably 15 of us down there. And I saw this blue orb or light, whatever you want to call it. And it went underneath like a tripod. And I wasn't the only one that saw it. Like, everybody saw it. And then it just kind of disappeared. So I associated like the orb type thing with strictly ghost, you know, like, and until the first time I was out in the woods and I saw, it was big. Honestly, it was at Land Between the Lakes, and it was probably the size of a beach ball, and it was an orangish reddish color, and multiple people saw it. So I can't figure it out. I don't know. I don't know if colors mean something, or, you know, because there was also white ones too, people were seeing out there that night. So I don't know if colors have something to do with it, maybe what it is, or I don't know, but it's just weird because I thought it was a ghost thing. However, at Land Between the Lakes, you know, granted, it is very haunted there. There are 237 cemeteries there. However, we were not around any of them. We were at a campground. It was the middle of January. There wasn't anybody else around but our group. So go figure.
Well, now I was going to say, because you in your documentary, I love the whole ball lightning discussion.
Yeah.
That made so much sense to me. And because until you really research the whole ball lightning phenomenon, you don't realize how close that it resembles, and it has different colors, like you were saying. It behaves almost like it's intelligent, you know?
Yeah.
So how can we draw the line? And we don't know, I don't think, where we can draw the line between ball lightning and orbs, if there's a difference.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Dr. Simeon Hine really, he connects it all. And I'll be honest, after we got done filming his interview, it was a very quiet car ride for Brett, Mike, and I. We felt like it was that scene in The Wizard of Oz when they pull back the curtain and see the wizard. Yeah. We're just like, oh, this is how it all works. And we're actually releasing his interviews in the coming weeks. So it really does. If you want a deep dive on fractal sociology and quantum physics and how dark matter and coherent matter work with the paranormal,
there you go.
You'll be set.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, because that opened up a whole new avenue for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this could explain so much, you know. And the points that got brought up about patents and, you know, why is this being done if there's nothing to it? You know.
Absolutely.
And I got to tell you, when you go down that rabbit hole, you know, I mean, it's deep. It is deep, but it makes a lot of sense.
Well, I'll tell you, when we screened the sequel at Phenomicon in September 2023, afterwards, and that's where it's in Vernal, Utah. That's where the Skinwalker Ranch guys and all the ATIP guys are there and stuff. And we had multiple people come by our table where we were set up. And one of them was a plasma scientist at I forget which lab it is, but he worked at one of these big labs for the energy department. And he was just giddy, and he just kind of looked at me. He's like, "You got the science right." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He was just kind of like, "Yeah." He's like, You got it right. And I was like, well, here's Dr. Simeon Hine. You can talk to him. And then they started chatting it up. And a lot of kind of just like little nods and winks from some of the scientific people there, which was nice because, I don't know, quantum physics is not my forte, so to speak. So I'm glad people who do understand it were like, okay.
Can't even spell it.
Yeah. Well, I did get Ron Moorhead's book on that, so we'll see.
Oh, the Quantum Bigfoot.
Yeah. I haven't read it yet, but I have it.
You know what? What's so nice about Ron's book, The Quantum Bigfoot, is he makes it it's accessible, it's approachable. In the past, in my screenwriting life, I had to buy a Quantum Physics for Dummies book for a sci-fi script I was working on. And even that, I was like, oh my gosh, I must be really stupid because I don't understand. And now I'm like, no, this is really hard to understand. So.
Yeah, that's why I was saying.
You almost need to dumb it down like 5 levels or something.
Yeah, you got to dumb it down for me too. I get it.
Like, let's pretend I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I think it's interesting, like back in the day, you spoke of Ron Moorhead and he, he was that flesh and blood guy. And now, he's changed his views on that after,
180
encounters. And well, when he first recorded the Sierra Sounds, it was all, he was all about the flesh and blood. So, yeah.
Yep.
We meet a lot of people who start out flesh and blood. I mean, I didn't know any difference. I mean, it was a big primate-like animal out in the woods until I started hearing other stories. And at first I was like, oh, okay, this is new. But the more you open your mind and hear more experiences, and then when things start happening to you, it's like, well, just like good science, you have to take everything into consideration. You can't kick out, stuff just because it doesn't fit into your narrative or whatever you're being funded.
Yeah. And there, we all know there's a certain group out there that does that. Takes out what doesn't fit their narrative.
Yeah, they omit and
anything that has a paranormal aspect to it,
I believe it's my understanding there's been a little bit of a sea change and that it's being acknowledged. Now, I don't know to what degree, but that was a flurry of activity that happened earlier this year. But whether or not that's consistent or that was just the trend at the time, I don't know. But I have heard from a lot of people who have in certain reports they would file, they would not; those reports would not be made public.
Right.
They get tossed out. Who knows where they went? But they documented a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
I think they really not only did themselves a disservice, they did the whole
community. Yeah, the whole community.
Because to me, that is just as bad, if not worse. No, I can't say worse, but it's just as bad because as hoaxing, because that's basically what you're doing.
Yeah.
I
would be upset if I gave my encounter and it was changed. heck yeah, it's not right, not right at all. So, yeah, like John Lamb says, I have an open mind. I think you have to, when we do any of this kind of stuff, you have to. You can't just, like as we said earlier, believe in one and not the other.
I mean, and most of y'all know my take on mind speak.
Mm-hmm.
I promise y'all, I promise, I really do. It's more of a concern than it is anything else. But just because it hasn't happened to me doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Right.
Okay. I'm not going to tell you that you didn't experience this, or it wasn't this, or it wasn't that. But
Right.
if you're going to ask me to go, okay, well, what if? I need to ask you the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's not what you think it is? You need
Yeah.
to be careful.
Absolutely.
And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, my thing with mind speak, we can talk briefly on that. I believe that because there's a lot of like psychic mediums and things out there, and mediums, they speak with the dead, so they do, like hear voices and hear people like come to them. My concern is they're doing the ghost for so long. There are a lot of tricksters out there too. So, me being, I want to see a Bigfoot really, really bad. So who's to say that a trickster couldn't portray itself as a Bigfoot, you know what I'm saying? And get in that way.
Exactly.
That's my
possibility. That's a possibility, but I also believe, and I'm saying this as someone who's psychic medium, you're also taught to test the spirits. And, you just like if you met someone on the street, you're not going to take their word. If I come up and say, I'm going to give you $1 million, if you believe me, I'll sell you a bridge also. So yeah, I mean, definitely there are, I think it's all about intention also. And I do think that some people do become hyper-focused, and that can attract what you're saying, that trickster element.
Yeah.
But, just I think with anything, you have to be on guard. You have to use discernment.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's too good to be true,
right.
do a double take.
Exactly. Totally agree with you.
Exactly.
So have you been out, you said you're a psychic medium, been out in the woods and you get a feeling like, oh boy, something's here. Not necessarily mind speak, but you just get that feeling,
I get the invisible hand on the head that kind of directs me in a position.
Wow.
That's kind of me. And I'll start wandering off towards things.
Yeah.
You sound like me. I don't consider myself to be a psychic, but there's been a lot of times that we've been walking out in the woods and I go, we need to go over here.
Yeah.
And you don't know why. You just need to go over there.
And if I can, let me say this though. I mean, this is my soapbox pitch on all this. To some degree, we're all psychic. We all get the intuition. We all get those hunches.
Yeah.
Right.
The way I put it, and even as far as mediumship, because whether it's like I saw my grandma in a dream, or I know like a deceased, relative or friend had words for me. Here's the way I see it. We can all play the piano. We can all play piano. Now, some of us are naturals. Some of us have to practice, hours on end for days. Some of us have a good ear. Some of us, don't care and hate playing the piano and want nothing to do with it. It's the same thing. What you put in is what you get out. And once you start paying attention and text, I'm sure you'll agree. You're talking about getting those hunches and following them. The more you pay attention to it, the more alert and aware you are to following those hunches. So you can package it up any way you want, but
I always tell everybody, if your gut tells you to go left and you really want to go right, you better go left because your gut will never lie to you.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Well, and I've said this before, but I mean, of course, not to you, but and I don't know, maybe you can throw your 2 cents in on this because I've been told I'm sensitive. Yeah, I don't mind crying in front of a woman, but but seriously, when my researcher, and I really think you talk about, honing your craft basically and sharpening your skills. Well, I think it's, if you're going to one area, as far as out in the woods, if you're going to one area a lot and it's an active area for anything, really, okay, you get to know, and I call it the vibe of the place. And I do this every time I go out anywhere in the field, even in a room, it doesn't matter, in a building, whatever. I get the vibe of the place, what kind of, am I going to get any, get out of the truck, look around, do I get any hinky feelings? But with the place that I research, I've gotten to where I can identify 3 different feelings. Now, I don't know what else to call them. But it's like, okay, well, I got critters around me, or I got more hinky stuff going on, or it's just going to be walking the woods.
Yeah.
And that's the same place I go. I mean, those 3 feelings can change from hour to minute to minute. It may not always stay the same. Just because there ain't nothing going on down at the bottom of the hill don't mean there ain't nothing going on at the top of the hill.
Right.
It's kind of like the weather. Wait 5 minutes, it'll change down here in Texas. But
here too.
Yeah.
Do you use those feelings as reference when you're in other locations doing research?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Because, well, I mean, it's all I got, but literally when I go to a new location, we just started an investigation at a great location, and we did an initial trip out there. And that initial trip, I really didn't feel anything going on. The next trip we went out there, and I met the landowner. We drove down in the middle of the place, and I got out, and it was different. And I was like, okay, we're going to have some stuff going on. And because it's kind of like, I don't know. It really wasn't the I'm being watched type thing. It was like, I know we're not alone.
Right.
Okay. And we did have some stuff happen. We were out there for 4 days, 4 nights, something like that. And we did have quite a bit of stuff happen when you start talking about it. And so, yeah, I do, have to reference those. And I think that's part of it. Pay attention to if you get a weird feeling, or you get, that, like you were saying, that invisible hand turning your head, look, pay attention to that, take a mental note of that. And next time it happens, going, okay, well, when I get this feeling, this tends to happen.
Right.
And I'm no expert. Y'all deal with that stuff. I can't say that anymore. Y'all got me way deep. So
I'm no expert, but no, I agree with you. And it's just a matter of paying attention and learning. And I think not just when you're talking about being sensitive to a location, but just in general, I think everyone needs to just get out of their own way and try not to overthink things. Because I know when I start trying to, like, what does this mean? What is the moss is growing on this side of the tree, but over here it's like, just take it all in. You don't need an answer right then and there.
Y'all were talking a while ago about the whole people that see things ones and zeros, black and white, okay, and nothing outside this exists, okay. And when you were talking about how people get traumatized on an encounter and stuff like that, those people are the ones that it just shatters their reality. And I mean, it really traumatizes them, because they live in this black and white world, where there is none of that, other realm, gray area that we talk about, that we, are open to.
Yeah.
But you get something that shatters those walls that they put up for so long, and those are the ones that have the really hard time dealing with stuff. And it's like pulling teeth to get them to admit something.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? When they open up, when they have that moment, I like to reference Rich Germeau, who we feature in both part 1 and part 2 of A Flash of Beauty. He was an on-duty police officer driving to work, and one stepped out, walked right in front of his car, and it flipped his world upside down. And like he says in his full interview, he's like, I was told these things don't exist, that this is a fairy tale. But I know what I saw, and what I saw doesn't exist. So what else isn't true? So that put him on a whole other path.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so many people that we interview and talk to, who a lot of people are like, I didn't believe in Bigfoot. I wasn't into any of this until it happened to me.
Yeah.
Right.
And I always use that. I mentioned that when in our comments on our YouTube channel, when people say, this is BS, I don't believe any of this, it's so fake. And I say, this person or that person, they said the exact same thing until it happened to them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Very.
Well, I can't tell you how many times, and most of y'all have heard me say this before. When I came out of the proverbial Bigfoot closet, I was in my 50s, and I was second, career and all that kind of stuff. And I was to the point where I really don't care what people think.
Mm-hmm.
I know what's out there. I know what's going on. And when I came out of that proverbial closet, I had friends that I knew for 15, 20 years, and they flipped the script on me. They started telling me everything that came out of my mouth was a lie. I lived in a world of, I didn't live in, a world. I lived in a world of fantasy, and I was in lost touch with the reality.
Wow.
All that kind of stuff, and my credibility. This was at work, and my credibility took a huge hit just because of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've known you 15, 20 years, and all the, it's just like all that from that moment back was blown up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm still the same guy.
Yep. But I mean, like my whole family, like I'm the only one that, I had a Bigfoot encounter as well. And, I'm the only one in my family. They kind of just roll their eyes at me now, but I don't care. It's my encounter, it's mine. So, yeah.
So Jill, you mentioned before that you haven't had an encounter, but when was your moment when you've realized that you knew that it was real?
Well, okay. So growing up, I'm a native Oregonian, and growing up in the Pacific Northwest is just part of the culture out here. And so I never thought twice that there couldn't be something out in the forest, because I know how vast, the woods are out here. I don't know if I ever didn't consider it to be something that was real. It was just something I haven't experienced with my eyes, like so many people have. But I think the interview, getting into this, how do I even say, Todd Neese's story, of course, Ron Moorhead, Peter Byrne, like all that. I was like, oh, this is very informative. And why would someone go to these lengths to make up a story to become obsessed with and, recalculate and reorchestrate their entire life path? But honestly, everyone we've sat down with and interviewed, I'm like, I believe you. And what you have to say is just another part of the puzzle, this mystery. So I don't know if I really answered your question, but I guess it's easier. And maybe the better question is prove to me Bigfoot isn't real.
Right. Yep. So you guys interview a lot of people, and what are your feelings on Dogman, or have you like come across anything like that? Can we switch it and talk about Dogman for a little bit?
I would love to. Okay, so I have a story. Like I said, when we first started this, and the original documentary was called The Paranormal Paradox. Like, how can you be experiencing something that isn't real? And we kept everything in their neat little silos. Like I said, hauntings, ghosts, UFOs, aliens, cryptids, which to us was like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster. And I had been just learning about Dogman, even though I was familiar with it, but I was like, oh, this is like a lot of people are having these experiences. And I told Brett, I was like, oh, we need to go to this location and interview someone. There's a Dogman interview we can do there. And he just kept looking at me. He's like, Dogman? Who's that? He thought it was like someone's like, their nickname or something. I'm like, no, it's like a werewolf type. I threw out just a bunch of like what sounded like paranormal cryptid word salad, basically. He said, Jill, it's hard enough getting the general public to take Bigfoot seriously. Let's lock that down. And if we have some success, we'll do Dogman. So I've been on his case. But we've actually over the past December, maybe over the past 6 months, we've had a lot of people reaching out to us with reports. And like, I want you guys to tell my story. I want, I need to talk to you about this. So we've been, and just last week, we sat down with some folks in the South and got amazing information. And I definitely foresee that on the radar of projects in the near future.
Me and you need to have a conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Dogman, I remember the first time I heard about a Dogman and I laughed. I'm like, are they crazy? Like a Dogman. Yeah, right. But yet in the same token, I believed in Bigfoot, at the time. And then I got to thinking, when I listened to this encounter and I was like, if Bigfoot could be real, why couldn't a Dogman? So yeah, I'm all about the Dogman now and the different, the different creatures, I guess, out there, the Genosquas and the Gugways and, things like that too. So,
and there's other things in the woods. There's other things you need to be aware of out there that's a whole other show. But it's not Bigfoot or Dogman. There are other things.
Yeah.
Well, and much like Brett, the reason I was laughing when you were talking about what he said, my first encounter ever was a Dogman. Before the term Dogman was even coined. And so I didn't know nothing but to call it a werewolf, right? And I've said this a million times. I've said it once. I wish it had been a Bigfoot. It would have been so much easier to explain. And, so I probably could have come off of that story a long, long time before I did the Dogman thing, because it took me so long, because it was I was 16 when it happened. It took me up until the year, what was that? 8 years ago. It took me until 8 years ago to go public with that. What had happened.
Did you even, did you know how to, when you were explaining it to people, was your, like on some sort of subconscious level, were you trying to convince yourself it was something else? Or were you going through the like, well, it must have been this, it must have been that. But then you ran out of excuses or ideas, and it's like, no, it was like a werewolf.
Well, you know, that came after, really, it did. When I first saw it, I was like, because it was so close, and there was no denying what my eyes were seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But after the fact, I mean, you know, months after the fact, and even years, even after I kind of came to terms with it. But when I like 8 years ago, when I first came out and told my story about it, that's when it came back, because you're still questioning yourself. You question your own sanity. Did I go temporarily nuts? You know, but you're trying to. There was no other, you know, and I would love to say, okay, I misidentified a Bigfoot. I would love to say that, but I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. You know, this thing was 25, 30 feet in front of me, daylight, on a gravel road, and I was walking.
Yeah.
How did that end?
And it ended fine. I mean, you know, I had to change my drawers when I got home, but hey, you know, nothing happened. You know,
You live to see another day.
yeah. And I actually had another encounter, which I think was the same thing, about maybe a little less than a year after the sighting. So yeah, there's a
Do you think it was the same one?
I think so. I mean, but that's just me. I didn't see it the second time. I just heard it. I didn't give it time. I turned around, tucked tail, and ran. You know, but you know, it took me a year to get over that sighting enough where I would go back out and you know, go hunting and fishing and stuff in the same area I was. I mean, the damn thing ran across, jumped over our barbed wire fence, and ran onto our pasture. It took the path I was fixing to take to go home.
Wow.
So I had to go. I went the long way and stayed on the road. You know, the road went. One road went up. It was this side of our place, and then across the front, and then our driveway was on the opposite side. We had 20 acres, so it's a pretty good walk. You know, but I mean, damn, if I was going to follow that thing into the long grass,
right?
But and if you want, we can talk about it at a later date. You know,
Okay.
Whatever you want to do. But
I'll follow up with you on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think about, you know, you talk to so many people, and I've heard this myself from individuals that both Bigfoot, Dogman, like they follow them home. Have you heard about that kind of stuff? Or
Yeah, we've heard about, well, there's two ways of looking at, I mean, we've heard two versions of this story where there's actually something physically that's followed them home, like shown up, like in their suburban cul-de-sac or whatnot. And also, we've heard the reports of like the hitchhiker effect, of where they've brought some sort of energy or attachment home that can only be connected to the encounter they had.
right. Wow. Yeah, because I've heard, you know, several people have talked about that, you know, that they might live hundreds of miles away from their encounter, yet, you know, it followed them, you know. So I find that interesting, which to me that could go on, you know, where it could be in the kind of a paranormal type realm. You know, how did it know how to follow? You know, I don't see it, you know, somebody living 300 miles away from it, it's not going to sniff them out 300 miles. You know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have a feeling I mean,
And that's
I don't know how it works, but I mean, in that realm of energy and focus,
right.
things possible.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Pancho Zorch is in chat too. And he actually had a Dogman encounter here in Missouri too. And Paul had him on the show the other night. So yeah, there's quite a few.
Very interesting one.
Yeah, there's quite a few encounters, you know, out there. There is a question here. John Lamb asked, do you think Dogman is the modern name for werewolf? What do you guys all think?
I'm struggling with it. That and we, me and Brandy's been hashing that out for months. Are they different? Are they the same thing? And anybody that tells me, oh, well, see, Dogman looks this way and acts this way, and a werewolf does this and does this. How do you know? I mean, you have a pet one that you don't see change or what? Because you can't just tell me because you heard somebody on another show talk about it like that. No, that's not the answer we need.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if they're the same thing or there's difference or they're different species. Or I have no idea.
I think it sounds to me, and this is just based on what little information I know from the internet and hearing other people's experiences. Just want to preface that. It sounds like Dogman is its own like species that is always in that state of being dog farm. Whereas, I mean, werewolf, you get into like into shape shifting, so to speak, of I don't know. I want to be careful how in certain cultures, in ceremony, shape shifting and whatnot, if that is more of what the werewolf is, or if there's a connection of maybe a misidentification and but a little, I mean,
it gets tricky, don't it?
With one to ask them.
Yeah, I always thought like werewolf have tails, dogmen don't. You hear the same old. So I don't know. I don't know. And then like the Dogman, the North American Dogman Project, they have the of all the different kinds and the types, the variants and things like that. So I don't know. It blows me away. Are those all Dogmen per se, or some of them might be werewolf or even a Genosqua, who knows, or whatever, Gugway or whatever. So yeah. So who knows?
Yeah, it's a dicey subject. It really is, because I would love to know if there's a difference, but I haven't yet to talk to anybody that can tell me the difference and convince me that how they know when they've just heard from other people.
Yeah. What do you think, Paul?
I'm with you guys. I don't know. I mean, you hear the werewolf, like Jill said, shape shifting from a human to a werewolf, but you don't see or hear that from the Dogman, and I just don't know.
Well, I mean, honestly, look at it. The term Dogman has only existed since the early 80s?
Yeah,
maybe late 80s, something like that. And so what were we calling them before that? Oh, werewolves. So why do we all of a sudden need to make a distinction? And how do we know there's a distinction?
Well, I also think with technology and like with the internet and the way that with social media and how easy it is to share stories and connect with people. And it's, all these people are able to find a community to compare notes with. And I think it's in that situation that these differences, like these distinctions are coming up. Like, well, everyone's describing it this way, so let's put that in a silo. And all these other encounters are like this, so let's put that in a silo. I think that it's just sharing of information. Whereas like, you think back in the 80s, how were people? This was kind of a word of mouth, behind closed doors conversation.
Yeah, and not even then.
Yeah.
Yeah. 80s.
Hey, I saw a monster.
86 might be right about this. Says, was it Linda that coined the term Dogman originally? Linda Godfrey. I think so.
It was.
Yeah.
Well, actually, was it her or was it the DJ? because he wrote the song about
Mhm.
Dogman.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Forgot
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. So, I don't know. It's just it's really interesting stuff, and our woods have I was raised, it's the city's what'll get you. You're safe out in the woods, like my dad used to, tell us go out and play in the woods and go be kids and this and that. And now, I won't let my kids go play in the woods.
Oh no.
But again, I was told that, it's in the city, where all the bad stuff happens. Out in the woods, you're safe out there. There's nobody out there.
Well, like you said, Krista, before, that there was a sighting, even a Dogman sighting down by the Arch in St.
Yeah.
Louis here.
Yeah.
So,
True
I mean,
story.
who knows where you're safe in?
Yeah, you're really not. It doesn't have to be, the woods. You got to think, all these. I know, at least in Missouri, a lot of new subdivisions and shopping malls are going up. Well, that used to be their area, Dogman, Bigfoot, all of them, their area. So where else are they supposed to go?
Yeah,
Very
it's
It's crazy.
now see, I would think, well, I can't say that. I mean, we got bobcats and coyotes running all over the suburbs. We even get big cats and bears in the suburbs. I mean, we were talking to Brent today. He had a moose in his front yard.
Right, and he lives in
Eating
town.
his plum tree. I mean, so
Yeah.
And it's obvious Texans can't keep the Californians from moving in. They're calling 911 because there's a possum in their yard. Well, you moved out in the country. Don't call 911 to come get a possum. You moved in its home, not vice versa.
Right.
Mhm.
So I think that has something to do with it. And I think what Jill said earlier, with the communication, we've made the world smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, we're kind of seeing we're kind of turning that corner on. We can actually, with platforms like we all have, people can actually talk about it.
Yeah. People,
they
feel
may
safe.
not be able to talk about it at home, but they can come here and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you said, the sharing of information. I think it's a smorgasbord of reasons
Yeah.
as to why that we are hearing more encounters from like suburb areas and that type of thing. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, giving people a platform to share their stories and their experiences, you never know who it's going to help.
Right.
We
Right.
hear so much from people, we'll get messages about this really validated what I experienced. We have, there's one of our audience members who just happened to stumble upon us. And he's in Florida, and he just recently, he witnessed something on the beach very similar to what Harold and Cody witnessed at the end of Paranormal Bigfoot. And his mind was just blown. He's like, I thought I was crazy. I told one person, I told my mom, and she didn't believe me. She made fun of me. And then he found our channel and listened to Harold and Cody's full entire interview. And it just changed his life. He's like, there are other people who I can talk to about this now. So I've been able to connect him with other people and everything. And yeah, I sometimes refer to myself as a Sasquatch social worker. Because a lot of my day is going through messages and emails, trying to connect people with resources or to people we've interviewed or just people we know or different, regions. Like, oh, there's a conference going on next month in this area. Maybe you can go, so-and-so speaking there. And that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Where we're doing our conference at next year, it was kind of actually a hot area, and it's just here recently. There was this is actually mine and Brandy's third conference we're putting on, but with the whole group, it's first for all of us. But we had a speaker come to the last one, and when he was leaving, we did a campfire thing, and he talked about Bigfoot. When him and his family were leaving, a Dogman ran in front of them. And this location is 8 miles from there. Also, there is and Brandy and I have talked about this at length, that there's an Amazon driver over in that area, in that same county, that he was tore up, and dogs unfortunately got the blame. And we happen to know the coroner, and he said it was no dog that did that. Like, he can't explain.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. He's actually on the board at the Ray County Museum. So yeah, it just, yeah. So that's, where we're doing our conference. It's all right there, same county.
man, I hope he shows up. I'd love to have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
For the coroner or the Dogman?
Both.
That's
Talk about going viral. Get Dogman on your show, Tex.
Right?
Yeah. Nobody would believe it. Everybody would say it's AI,
Yeah.
So Jill, tell us, what do you have coming up that you can talk about?
Let's see here. We are in the middle of production on A Flash of Beauty 3, which is featuring and focusing all on the Native American perspective and the indigenous stories, and kind of the foundation of Sasquatch. And so we've been working on that. We have some pretty exciting shoots lined up in the near future. We're also in the process of wrapping up filming Ron Moorhead's documentary about the Sierra Sounds. He originally approached us back in 2022, and we've been, good things come to those who wait. And we've been chipping away at it, slow and steady, and we've got some amazing stuff lined up. It's just such an honor that he approached us and asked us to do that.
He's a really nice guy. I've met him a couple times.
Oh yeah, he's a
Ron,
character.
man. He's great.
Yeah.
He's a character. We also, we're traveling. We're just in the South, kind of doing a fact-finding mission for some other projects as well. But while we were there, we got some amazing interviews that Brett's down the hall editing right now. And yeah, there's some other stuff going on, not paranormal or Bigfoot related, but we do have a couple other films that are coming out next year that we're equally as excited about.
Awesome. And tell everybody about what nights does your shows? You do live shows too.
We do a live stream on Thursdays, usually at 7 p.m. We're moving it to 8 p.m. tonight, Pacific time. So I'll be hopping on that in a little bit. But honestly, I'll be honest, for our live streams, mostly people catch them later because there are so many other shows going on when we're on. So, we do that, and we try to have a new interview or a full interview posted like at least once a week. So like I mentioned, we just have, and we have our podcast of season 2 of our podcast where we follow up with people who were in the sequel. Yeah. So we have, let's see here, for members only right now, Simeon Hines podcast. It goes is members only now. It goes public tomorrow. And also Ira Wolfnutsen's her interview. It was very, very short interview. It's about 10 minutes, but that goes live tomorrow.
Awesome.
Also. Yeah.
Fantastic. Very cool. Very cool. So you guys got a lot of good stuff coming up too. So guys, they're going to go live here shortly. And definitely appreciate you coming on here tonight, Jill.
Thanks for having me. This is always fun.
Yeah, I think we need to have you on every 6 months.
Okay. Sign me up.
And then I'm sure Tex will be reaching out, Paranormal Paul, everybody be reaching out to you.
Let's do it.
T-Bone asked real quick, Jill, can we order one of those globes on your site?
Yes. You know what? If you email me at info@bigfootdoc.com, I'll figure out. We literally just got the box, so we haven't set anything up yet on our official website, but reach out to me. Yeah. I also have t-shirts and sweatshirts. I've got something for everyone.
Cool. And once again, that's you have the open invitation for the conference too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will. I'm writing that down, and I'll talk to the team, and
Awesome.
we'll make
Very
something
cool.
happen.
Very cool. And real quick, I want to thank T-Bone and Keith from 1675 for their donations. I appreciate you guys. And definitely thank you, Paul and Tex, for filling in for Brandy. You guys did great. You know, she's got, like you said, it takes two of you to make up for her one.
Right.
Sure does.
So anyway, we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Jill and I came dressed for the season. I have my ugly pajamas on, and she has her sweater. I don't think your sweater's all that ugly, though.
No, not at all.
I'm
And
just
real quick, Jill, tell us where you got that sweater.
Well, my husband indulged, and I believe he picked this up at Walmart.
I like it. I like it.
Christmas llamas. I love it.
Yep. Yep.
You know, the story of the Christmas llamas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That works. So I will not be on tomorrow night. It'll be Tex and Brandy. And who you guys got tomorrow night?
We've got Brian Alvarez from After Dark Radio coming on.
Okay, that'd be cool. And then, yeah, so I won't see anybody for another week until Blonde's next Thursday. So I'm going to tell everybody Merry Christmas. What's that?
Monday, we got Adam Davies and
Yep.
Greg Ogles on the board.
Yep, that'll be a good one. That'll be a good one too. So anyway, I appreciate it. And your films are absolutely wonderful. Like it's you, it's Small Town Monsters, and it's Relic Films are the three of my go-tos for the cryptid side of things for sure. So you guys do great work. Absolutely. So we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight, and we will see everybody on the tomorrow. Text will. Yeah.
Well, I'll see you tonight. I'm on Monica's show tonight.
Okay, there you go. See y'all. Good night.
Night, guys.